Hey, what's going on? So I just platinum Tormented Souls on PS5, and I'm going to give my final thoughts along with some tips for those of you that may be interested in playing this game. Let's just get straight into it. So, for those of you that don't know, Tormented Souls is a throwback to the original Silent Hills, and even some comparison can be made to Resident Evil. However, after experiencing the game from start to finish, I would compare it far more to Silent Hill. So, in this game, the the warnings and the tips that I would give you, I'll start with those. One, if you're going to go after beating the game in under 3 hours, legitimately, and I will speak on that further, there is a way to gimp it. But if you're going to go after it legitimately, do keep in mind that the pausing the game, even though the game allows you to pause, the clock for the game does not stop. It will continue. So you cannot use pause if you're trying to beat the game in under 3 hours. Do keep that in mind. In relation to my review of the game, it's a solid throwback to the days of old, but it went a little too far with the throwback, and it overdid certain things. For example, in my opinion, it overdid the puzzles, and I found myself having to look up some of the puzzles and like really being clueless as to what the solution was. I didn't feel like they did a good job of explaining a lot of them. But that was my experience, so I guess it's a warning to say, hey, you may have the same experience. You may not. So I think the game was a little heavy on the puzzles, and they were a little more complicated than I would have expected them to be. Another thing that I found a bit lacking were the weapons. I really didn't care for the weapons. They were lackluster for me. There's a sequel of this game coming out, and ultimately I will be adding it to my library. But I really hope they do a better job with the weapons. Moving on from that, this game, be forewarned, has a lot of backtracking, and it's one of the things that I think is a mark against it for me because the backtracking seems a bit excessive, even coming from original games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil. This one seems, I just felt like it went a little too far with the backtracking. And another thing that I didn't like with the game was the saves for this game are really spread apart. Like you can go more than an hour without encountering a save unless you go back to said save. And I think they needed to improve upon that a bit. At the end of the day, the story is also a bit weak. It's predictable. And I called it like 5-10 minutes into the game. Like it was just that level of, oh, okay. I enjoyed the game overall for what it tried to do. It didn't do it poorly. It's just, for me personally, it made a few mistakes that dragged it down. Okay, so with my thoughts on the game overall out of the way, I did enjoy it. I will get the sequel when it releases, but I'll probably wait for a sale. And I would recommend that those of you that have been looking at this game wait for a sale as well. But if you like those games of old, then you're likely to like this one. Now, this game has, for the trophy hunters out there, this game has 3 of those annoying trophies that the days of old people know these trophies. Um, you have to beat the game without using any heals, without saving, and you have to beat the game under 3 hours. But you can get those because this game has a debug menu, and if you have a USB keyboard with a dongle that works with the PS5, you'll be able to access the debug menu. In order to do the debug menu, assuming you have the keyboard set up, everything's working, you need to type in Z for zebra, E for elephant, F for fry, C for cat, K for kill, L for lion twice. So it would go ZEFCKL, ZEFZKL, and you'll hear a chime. It sounds like a duck quack. If you hear that, you've entered it correctly, and upon doing that, you need to push. On my keyboard, there's a button that says FN. You need to push FN with end. If your keyboard has the same thing, that the important button is end. Once you do that, the debug menu will come up. There is a option that says switch to end scene. If you switch to that, you will unlock those 3 annoying trophies back to back without having to do it. That will give you those 3, but you're still going to have to go through the game getting the collectibles and doing the requirements to get the platinum. But hope that helps. Keep on gaming.